We've made our first widget. The next thing that we have to do now is to set up the level so that the player can trigger it. So if we go back, here I am actually in a different level, and it's the same as we did for the sound. We're going to search for trigger and drag out a box trigger into the scene. I'm going to resize that to make sure I hit it. Okay. Now, right click on your trigger. We're going to add an event. And it's the same one as for the sound, on actor begin overlap. So let's click that. So now it's automatically opened the level blueprint in the editor. And we have our first event, an on actor begin overlap. So first we have to create a widget. Then we have to add that widget to the viewport. Okay, and then we have to set up some of those conditions, which if you remember in the widget, I'll go back here, here's our widget, and remember we set our input mode and then our mouse cursor. So in the widget we unset them because we want them to go back to normal on the close button. So when we're doing this in our first person in our level map, we've got to basically turn them off. We've got to manipulate them. Okay, so let's drag off from the pin and just type in widget and you'll see a create widget. So let's click on that. Okay, so in our class, you're going to select the widget that you made. All right, so we've made our widget. Now the next thing we need to do is add it to the viewport. So if I just did add, and up here we have this function add to viewport. Okay, so but we need a target. What are we going to add to the viewport? So we could just drag these over and that would work, but it might get you in trouble later. So it's good practice and it's quite easy to do. What I'm going to do is break this. But when I'm going to compile it, so if I drag off this return, remember I've created this widget, I've said it's my first widget, so I'm going to create a return value. I'm going to create a return value. Make sure context sensitive is checked, and you'll see right at the top there, promote to variable. So if I click that, it automatically creates the correct variable type that I need to hold whatever the widget is going to be. So I'm going to give it a name just so you know what it is. My widget 2, because I have other ones. Okay. So now this, I can go here and then I can connect this up. Let's go ahead and compile that. Okay. So we've got our widget and we've added it to viewport. So let's play it and see what happens. So here I am in my scene. I'm going to walk over here. Great. So my widget pops up. However, I don't have a cursor in the widget UI, and you'll notice that the background is also moving around. I can still kind of move around the room, which could get me into trouble. So I'm going to get out of that. So this is why we have to set the input mode and then the mouse cursor, right? Okay. So let's go back to our example map. I'm going to drag off of add to viewport. I'm just going to type in input. And if I scroll down here, I can see, you see it's the set input mode for game only. I'm going to here set it for UI only, right? So remember in our widget, we're setting it back to the game mode, which is the default, which we need to play the game. Here we're setting it to the UI. Okay. So, in widget to focus, here's where we can use this variable, my widget 2, and we can drag this into here. Now, a little trick just for making things neat. If you double click on the line, you get this little node that allows you to move your connectors around so you can make things a little bit more organized. Now, we also need a target. So what is basically the holder for all of our controls is the player controller. So we're going to drag off target and type in get player controller. So let's compile. We'll test it. I'll just show you what it does. Okay, so I can't move up and down, but you notice I'm being kicked out a little bit, and I'll tell you what's happening there. But I still don't have my cursor. Okay, so what the reason for that is, I now need to show mouse cursor. So I'm going to drag off. I have to uncheck that context sensitive, and I'm going to search for show mouse, set show mouse cursor. Okay, I'm going to check that. So it has to be the opposite of what I've done here. So I'm signaling that there's a change in state for this Boolean. Okay, now again, our target here for the mouse is also our player controller. Okay, let's test it out. Play. Okay, I've got this, and my cursor's showing up. I can't really move around in the world, but I can click that button and get rid of the UI. Now, you notice I got actually pushed out into the room, and I am sort of fell off the edge. What's happening is that the way that the input is being processed is that it's not getting that it's still getting that I'm pressing on the W key. So it's kind of moving me forward, and I'm colliding continuously and being pushed out. So we want to stop that. If that happens to you, there's a very easy way to stop it. Again, let's go back here. And you can set it kind of anywhere. I think I'm gonna put it right here. And the command is called ignore. It's movement. Ignore move input, right? So we're gonna set that. And we're gonna check this, okay? And we need a target because it's going to be the player controller. It's nice that it gives you a little movement there. So now what this is going to do is say ignore any move input that you're getting after we add this to the viewport. Okay, so let's see if this works. Yay, so here I have my widget has popped up. I'm not moving my world, and I'm not being pushed along the side. So I can click this button and close it. We're all good. Now we only have one other thing left to do, because I can't, what I've done is I've set this move input. So when I close, I still can't move. I'll show you, because we need to reset this. So let me give you an example. Great. Close this, but now I'm pressing my W key, but I can't move anywhere. I'm stuck because we have to turn this set ignore move input. We have to turn it back on. So we're going to do that in the widget. So go back to your widget, and here we're going to set ignore move input. Again, our target is down here, and we're going to leave this unchecked. Okay, so let's test it out. Okay, that's all good. Yep, and now I can move. So that's it. That's all you have to do to get a pop-up note. Now, you might also want to have a sound happen when you pick your note up. I'm going to show you a couple things here. We're going to go back to our event, and I'm going to drag off of this node, and I'm going to search for sequence. I'm going to break this by, remember, it's Alt left click. So I'm going to have this the first one. And first, I want it to play a sound. So I'm going to drag off the first thing that's going to execute first. Play sound. Oh, let me see. Oh, I can't type today. Play sound at location. Perfect. The sound, I have one. I have a paper here put down. Okay, I'm going to compile that. And hopefully you guys will be able to hear it. This paper sound isn't very intense. So hopefully you could hear there's just a little paper pickup. So anyway, that's how you do it. This is instead of I mean, I could have put my play sound at location in front of here or after here, but I like to do it this way just to help keep it neat and I know what it's supposed to be doing sequentially. Okay, that's it for showing a note.